So Bree, your decision to go fractional as a CFO, was that a quick decision for you, or was it something that was built over time?
Yeah, so it's something that I've always wanted to do, is as in build my own business. But I had no idea what that looked like, and I'd sort of thought through a couple of different things, but there was never the right thing that came to mind. Up until a couple of years ago, when somebody reached out to me about a fractional CFO role.
Okay.
And it really got me excited about the possibility and the options that were out there for me. At that time, it wasn't the right move for me. I was in a stable, full-time, sort of secure role that I was really enjoying. But it really got me thinking in the background of what I could build.
Okay, fantastic. So an idea that built up over time.
Yeah.
Were you nervous about your personal brand or going into market as a fractional CFO?
Absolutely. So yes, so I finished up working in my full-time role in May after making myself redundant, really, which was sort of what I was really trying to do in that role.
Okay.
And then I spent a couple of months really thinking about what I wanted and how I was going to do it, and spoke to different people, spoke to my mentors and different people within the industry to really get a feel of if that's what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And then in October, I decided that was the right step, and it was really scary to actually put myself out there and really put it out to the world that that's what I was going to do. So I guess that first sort of post on LinkedIn was really scary to go, right, I am going to do this.
Here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I remember it well, actually.
Yeah.
And having gone fractional now, have you found that that's changed things for you from a work-life balance point of view, or has it become more chaotic because of the nature of the work that you're doing?
A bit of both.
Okay.
So it's been quite seamless in that the juggle with clients and working with the family. I guess full-time work is really hard anyway. So now it's on my terms.
Yep.
I've got a really sort of good structure where I make sure I work sort of 7 a.m. to 3:30, so I've got time with the kids, but I make sure that I've got that time and I block it out, and then I make sure I turn my computer off, shut the door and walk out the door, so that I can sort of live my life in the best way. But of course there's night work, there's weekend work, there's all that, but because it's your business,
yes,
it's exciting to do, and it's something that I really enjoy doing rather than it being sort of a bit of a slog.
Sure. So you're still working pretty long days, but getting to choose your hours a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so fractional CFO work requires you to think like a CFO, but also as a business owner, because you've got to actually build your client base and develop that, that space for you to play in. How did you go about that from a planning and strategy point of view?
Yeah, so I guess this was one of the biggest fears, and I think probably the biggest fear for anybody starting up their own business is, how are you going to build that client base? So for me, I was really lucky that I had some great referrals come to me, and I guess with people that I'd worked with in the past. So that was really great. I've also had people refer me then on to other clients, again, which is really exciting. I think also because the world of fractional is becoming bigger in Australia, there's different platforms now that focus on that. So there's different businesses and different platforms where you're really able to jump on there, and that is their sole focus. And then also just getting out there on LinkedIn and getting into networking events and different panels and different events that you're able to really just talk to people about what you do.
Sure.
I think a lot of what we do is really trust-based, so
100%.
It's not a big marketing play, but it's really getting to know people and them sort of really feeling comfortable with you.
Fantastic. And when you go into various businesses, you've got to wear different hats at different times. How do you manage those competing priorities, and how do you separate your week in terms of who you're working with and how much time you invest with each?
Yeah, so this one seems to have come quite easily, I guess because I've always worked in sort of fast-paced, project-based businesses. So wearing many hats and jumping between priorities is sort of what I've always done. But saying that, I make sure there's clear priorities set with the clients, the expectations are there, and then I do block out big chunks of time and make sure that I just focus on 1 or 2 tasks and then move on to the next, rather than trying to do 100 things at once.
Well planned. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Okay. So Bree, tell me what a typical day might look like with a client, and even a typical week, just in terms of how you structure your time, and also what of your skills are they asking you to deploy in their various businesses?
Yeah, so I guess for myself, I try and plan out the week in advance. So Monday morning is sitting down and actually sort of working out what I'm going to do for that week. Some clients, I might have some Monday morning reports that I need to get out every week, so I make sure they get out on time. If it's month end, obviously there's some reporting in there. But then I chunk it out, so there's team meetings that I have. So I always like to be part of the leadership meetings or the key stakeholder meetings within the businesses, as well as I mentor and manage some of the team members as well. So I like to have some face-to-face with them where possible. And then I really set out chunks of time per client. And that might be, there's a whole range of things. But for one client, I might be looking at the cash forecast for the next 3 months. One client, we might be working on a margin analysis for a new product that they're launching. So it's a matter of working through what that might look like, getting calls with key stakeholders. Other things might be budgeting for or New Year planning, which is what we're sort of doing at the moment, a lot of that New Year planning.
Sure. Some people think of fractional work as maybe being a bit remote or removed from the client. How do you embed yourself in the client, and how much face time are you actually having with some of your clients?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one, and I think one where the way that I do it might be slightly different to others. I don't sort of like the sort of virtual CFO labels. So I like to really embed myself in the businesses. So I love to go into their offices for a day. I might work there for a day, even if it's not all meetings for that individual client. I think what you're able to learn from key stakeholders, just having general conversations, is so much more important and so much sort of enlightens you to the wider business rather than a formal leadership meeting that you might have once a month.
Of course. And if you're thinking about implementing strategy for a client or initiatives that you want to introduce, obviously as a fractional CFO, you want to ensure that's followed through, even though you're not there the whole time. So how do you ensure that, I guess, accountability from the client side is in place and they work through your initiatives and suggestions?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one. Client the other day asked me how I was able to implement a couple of things so quickly compared to other people that they'd spoken to in the past. And I have always treated the businesses I have worked for as my own, and that's the same with my clients. So I get so much joy and pride in them succeeding that a strategy means nothing. The implementation is really the important part. So I make sure that I work with the team, the stakeholders, the finance team to make sure that all does come together. And if that means jumping on the phone, nagging people, making sure their meetings are flowing properly and those projects are moving, then that's what I'll do.
Okay, fantastic. So we work with several clients in the small to medium space who can't necessarily afford a full-time CFO. We have these conversations all the time. What would you say are the benefits to those sort of clients in terms of fractional CFO work?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where fractional works really well and I sort of believe that any business below, say, 3 mil probably doesn't need a full-time CFO or any CFO, all the way up to 20 or 30 mil, depending on the growth stage and what their sort of growth ambitions are. So there's a lot of businesses there that don't need that full-time support, but with fractional, you get the benefit of both sides. So I might work half a day a week for a client, up to sort of, I say 3 days a week, is sort of the max. After 3 days, they really probably need that full-time support. So they get the benefit of what feels like and is in essence a full-time team member for a fraction of the cost. It really is.
And it sounds like it sounds like there's almost a tipping point within a business as to how fractional work can benefit them versus over time perhaps needing a full-time CFO. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said earlier, I made myself redundant from my last role, and that is what I wanted to do, and that was sort of a KPI that I set for myself. I like to make myself redundant as the fractional CFO as well, because it means that the business has grown in a way that either the systems and processes have built and evolved over time, which means that the level of support has reduced, or they're big enough then to then support a full-time CFO.
And that's when they need to call us.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Okay, so senior finance leaders who are thinking about moving into the fractional space, what would you tell them, and what sort of kept under wraps that they might not know about when they're thinking about a move such as this?
I reckon the biggest one is do it and back yourself. I think the reason I sort of took that career break was because I didn't back myself to jump straight into it.
Okay.
And it's really scary to go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get myself out there, I'm going to somehow find clients, I'm good enough to do this, I'm good enough to be able to manage both the client work, bring in new business, the marketing, and all those things that you need to do at the start on your own. So definitely back yourself. And the other key piece of advice that I always get from people is to really hone in on a niche market. I think it's too easy, and what people often do is try and sort of throw the net really wide, get any clients in, and we all know that the wrong client is really sort of detrimental long term. So really honing in on your key client, focusing in what you do, making sure the market understands who that client is and what you actually do and who you support most, and then you're able to then slowly build that momentum up over time.
Fantastic. And it's an interesting point you make about the business development side, because as finance professionals, not everyone probably feels they're cut out for the business development side and the client relationships and development. How hard was that for you, so in the beginning particularly?
Yeah, so this actually really surprised me. So I'm absolutely an introvert at heart. I would rather sit in a corner and talk to nobody. But over time, the new business meetings that I have and the networking that I do really brings me joy and energizes me, which is really exciting. And then the marketing side of things is just really interesting, and understanding and getting a better understanding of people's sort of the psychology around it. And I sort of have nerded out on some of that stuff to really sort of understand and try and build that up.
Yes.
That being said, I think then over time, then there'll be options to have marketing people come in and actually support through that. But in the early stages, it's really exciting.
Fantastic. And what do you anticipate for your business moving forward? Obviously, there is opportunity in the market for more of this type of work. What do you envisage for your space that you're going to play in?
Yeah. So I gave myself 12 months to really figure that out. So I've sort of been taking it easy and taking things as they come. Again, probably as a bit of a fear thing of saying, am I going to really jump into this head first? Yeah. So I've just recently decided that I'm really going to expand out a team that can support me. That might be FP&A professionals, other CFOs that come in and support the clients, as well as some sort of admin support as well. So there's going to be a lot of growth over the next 12 months.
Fantastic. So big plans ahead.
There's big plans.